in the situation.
Michael O'Leary, if you're in favour of this, then surely it must be bad for workers.
I mean, look, I think people go to vote in 2 weeks' time. If you're worried about workers' rights, remember one thing. Both ICTU and SIPTU agree that you should vote yes for this treaty. And they would be probably the last people in this country, apart from maybe Joe, that I would agree with. What Joe misses in all this impassioned old rubbish about neoliberal ideology and all the stuff that bores the arse off people is we have 500,000 unemployed people. And we should be voting in 2 weeks' time on the rights of the 500,000 unemployed. How you're going to get them back to work. The ones who are in work at the moment, frankly, are pretty well off in this country. It's the 500,000 who are unemployed we need to get back to work. Joe doesn't have a policy anywhere on his website for creating jobs because Joe's never created a bloody job.
Well, look, Mr. O'Leary can go on with all his abusiveness against people who disagree with him and people on the left in particular. That's fine. The reason we have 500,000 unemployed, Mr. O'Leary, is precisely because of the type of policies that are being pursued in the European Union and were pursued within this country as well. That's the reality. And by the way, the unions are totally contradicting themselves. Mr. Monks that Marian Harkin alluded to, after the Luxembourg judgment, said this judgment turns the Posted Workers Directive from being something that's supposed to help workers into an aggressive market tool. And the Luxembourg judgment, Minister, overturned the rules of a so-called sovereign state.
Briefly, Declan Ganley. Declan Ganley's been waiting to get in. Joe, you jumped in on Declan the last time. Declan Ganley, that's your last word on this particular issue.
The best way to guard jobs and keep a vibrant inward investment and indigenous job creation environment here is to make sure that the people making these decisions are accountable to us at the ballot box. The fact is, tax harmonisation is on the agenda. The French finance minister, after our vote last June, said she told the Financial Times that tax harmonisation is still on the agenda. She said the imperatives are the same. In Article 311 of the TFEU, under Lisbon, the EU will gain ability to impose its own EU-wide taxes across the Union. That includes us. The fact is that the common corporate tax base, common consolidated corporate tax base is on the agenda. None of these things make any sense. And if we give that power to Brussels without having accountability in return, that will harm the job creation and inward investment environment in this country.
The yes side will get a chance to respond to that when we've heard the next two questions, because they are linked. Elaine Colahan is the first question.
Does the panel think that posters with untrue claims regarding the referendum should be removed by the authorities?
Okay, and a similar linked question comes from Owen Gallagher.
Just towards the Yes campaigners on the panel, do they personally believe that, do they agree with the way the Yes campaign has been run in terms of the posters, the taglines and deceptive propaganda that we've seen in recent weeks up and down the country, and would they not agree that this kind of manipulation and deliberate misdirection is an insult to the...
Okay, well, I think possibly both sides are at it, so let me go a little bit into that first. Micheal Martin, in relation to, it may be a simple thing, but promising jobs, for example, if you vote Ness, I mean, isn't that a lie to be promising to the electorate?
With the greatest respect, the whole European Union and the Lisbon Treaty is all about jobs. It's all about jobs, and it has always been about jobs and economic development from the Irish perspective. But don't say both sides are at it, Matt, because there's a world of a difference between someone putting up on a poster that the minimum wage is down to 184 if you vote yes for Lisbon. Now that kind of distortion should not be tolerated, and even those who put it forward had to accept, after a torrent of criticism of that poster, that they didn't really mean it. I accept that Joe Higgins and others have accepted that the minimum wage will not be reduced to that level as a result of the passage of the Lisbon Treaty. And I just passed a poster a while ago where people are saying, if you vote yes for Lisbon, it's bad for your health, in the name of God. I mean, so don't anyone try and tell me about the tactics on the yes side. I think what's happened on the yes side is there's been a strong mobilisation of people who are concerned about the future of Ireland and its relationship with the European Union, who get the basic common sense fact that Europe has been very good for Ireland since we joined in 1973 in so many different ways, and that the Lisbon Treaty makes Europe work better. And if it makes Europe work better, it'll be better for Ireland. And in terms of the economy and job creation, I again go back, you don't have to take my word for it. 90% of the people who create jobs in this country are saying that passing a yes for Lisbon is good for jobs.
Okay, I want to go back onto the no side. Patricia McKenna, how do you feel about being on the same side as people who put up posters such as saying that the minimum wage might be reduced to €1.84?
Well, like the Minister said earlier in relation to which side you're on, that's not the issue. But in relation to the posters, I have to say, and it was interesting to hear the Minister say, don't say both sides are at it. I have to admit, both sides actually have got information on the poster which is not actually about what we're voting on. In relation to the minimum wage, as I've said already, in Ireland we can't be forced to lower below 88, whatever it is. But what I found most interesting was Michael O'Leary's statement a few minutes ago, where he said, you know, the only people we had to worry about were the unemployed in this country, that everyone who was in a job was okay. Please come to the real world, Michael O'Leary. Everybody who's in a job in this country is not okay. They've massive mortgages which for houses that they owe the bank for, which they can't. I mean, come off it. People are actually having to accept lower wages, and that's the point that we have to come back to, is that at $8.64 the minimum wage, and if people want a job, they may have to accept that even though their job is worth €20 or more an hour.
What's that got to do with the Lisbon Treaty?
Because the minimum wage is a key issue here, as we've just discussed a few minutes ago. The fact, excuse me, but it is.
Ireland sets the minimum wage.
I'm going to take Michael O'Leary on this. Michael O'Leary is the next speaker in, please.
It ill beholds some retired MEP and teacher on a big fine pension to be lecturing me, who actually creates jobs in this country. The question was, what do we think about the posters? Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about posters. If posters had any effect, Declan Ganley would be an MEP, Joe Higgins would be a TD, and Patricia McKenna would still be in the European Parliament drawing a salary and expenses of nearly €500,000 a year, which Joe is about to benefit from now while he rants on and raves about...
Sorry,
I will give you a chance. 1 second, Patricia. You will get a chance, Patricia.
Sorry,
posters. 1 second. Michael, finish. Then Patricia, I promise
posters have no effect, so we shouldn't get too hung up on posters. When you're voting in 2 weeks' time, you're voting for two issues. If you vote yes, we keep a commissioner. If you vote yes, we have a veto on direct taxation. Don't believe Declan Ganley on taxation. You can't believe when he says he's not going to campaign again, and you can't believe him on taxation.
Patricia McKenna, you want to respond?
Just on the point, Michael O'Leary, before you start throwing accusations at people, check your facts. I am part of a family of 5. We live on 21,000 exactly a year with a mortgage over our heads. Not everyone in the European Parliament was able to milk it as some people are claiming. 21,000 a year. I'll swap with you any day for what you're worth and what you're getting and what you actually owe. Now, you try and live with 5 of a family on 21 grand a year, so please be careful about what you say.
Declan Ganley, you wanted to come in here.
Look, the only thing the yes side have is that this is supposedly about jobs and the economy. It isn't. It isn't about jobs. It isn't about the economy. Justice Frank Clark of the Referendum Commission has said so. It's garbage. The argument is untrue. There is nothing good for the Irish economy in the Lisbon Treaty. Handing over these decision-making powers to Brussels to people that we cannot hold accountable is a risk. It is a point... Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you. It's a point of no return. You sat there, Minister, and you said, you know, we need to be at the heart of Europe and everything else. We are at the heart of Europe. And when we vote no, if this country votes no, there'll be at least 300 million plus people that will be very pleased that we did exactly that.
How do you know that 300 million plus people will be pleased?
Well, because surveys have been done across the European Union. We know that the French people voted no. We know the Dutch people voted no. Marian Harkin doesn't want people in Tyrone, Fermanagh, Armagh and Derry to have a vote. She told us.
I'm going to put the minister in now. Said he would come in.
Again, we just have to nail this proposition that a non-elected elite. It's elected politicians make decisions in Europe.
Don't.
Yes, they do.
Sorry, Declan. Wait, please.
And I'm fed up now. I'm absolutely fed up with you peddling that on through time and time again. There is no abstract elite there. The bottom line is this: people elect their politicians, whether you like them or don't like them. That's another matter. But people elect politicians who then are appointed by our legislature, our parliament, to become ministers, who sit at the council of ministers, who have an equal say with other countries, and who decide by consensus what a particular law should be. We're not giving great powers away in the Lisbon Treaty to the European.
Marian Harkin, and then I'll go back.
I am one of those people who